Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Gamers Podcast. Well, today we're going to be talking about The Last of Us Part 2 remake, or remastered, or whatever it is you want to call it. So, on this channel, particularly, I made a lot of videos pertaining to, I made a lot of my thoughts on the Last of Us HBO series. I made a lot of episodes on The Last of Us Part 1 remaster. If you guys remember, I did a few podcasts on it. An analysis or whatever is you'd like to call it. So we talked a lot about The Last of Us Part 1, the remaster, which is what they're calling it pretty much, is just Part 1. So they're making, well, they already made it. It technically came out yesterday. You guys are seeing this on Saturday. It came out yesterday. And of course, I've known about this for the past few weeks now. But they made a Last of Us Part 2 remake. Pretty much the same premise as The Last of Us Part 1. Remake or whatever. So I have a problem with it. So this is pretty much what we're going to be talking about. I'm pretty much just going to be giving you guys a rundown of what it is and what's new in it, and giving my general consensus on what I really think of it. Which I'm just going to tell you guys right now, I don't like it. And there's reasoning behind it. I'll be going into that a little bit later. But as of now, I'm just going to be reading a little bit of an article. So, what's new in Tilu Part 2 Remastered? The biggest feature Naughty Dog has added to the game in The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is a roguelike mode called No Return. And along with Ellie, Joel, and Abby, you'll be able to pick from a bunch of different characters from the game that you were previously unable to play as. So, whatever that means, you'll be able to pick from a bunch of different characters from the game that you were previously unable to play as. Which I already said that. I was just kind of rehancing it. So I don't 100% know the new things that they added to the game, which is what we're going to be getting into in this article. So we're reading off the PlayStation blog here, super official. The team here at Naughty Dog is excited to announce The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, the definitive way to experience the acclaimed Last of Us sequel, originally released in 2020. We're thrilled to confirm that you won't have to wait long for it either. Players can jump into Ellie and Abby's emotional journeys on the PlayStation 5 console on January 19th, 2024. Whether you have already played and even platinumed The Last of Us Part 2 on your PlayStation 4 console, or recently jumped into The Last of Us Part 1 on PS5 and want to continue the story, Part 2 Remastered will offer plenty of reasons for new and returning players to revisit a story that means so much to our studio. The engrossing campaign returns alongside technological improvements, new modes, and new behind-the-scenes features that will deepen your understanding of Part 2's creation. The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is designed to let you dig deeper into both of its development and mechanics. Chief among these is a brand new mode called No Return, a roguelike survival mode designed to let players prove their mettle in randomized encounters and experience The Last of Us Part 2's combat in fresh experience. The mode includes a host of playable characters to choose from, some playable from the first time in The Last of Us franchise, which you may have spotted in our trailer. It says that in quotes. Who each come with their own traits and suit different playstyles. Players will chart their own course on each run, choosing between various stealth and combat encounters that will pit you against a range of enemies, with unique twists that can add new, unexpected factors to any given encounter. Each run will offer a new chance to decide rewards that you get after each encounter, how you spec out each character, and more. Unlock more characters, skins, and more as you progress through the use of the run. Customize your own runs and complete on a global leaderboard as part of the daily run, too. We're excited to share more about No Return as we get closer to launch. For those who have already played The Last of Us Part 2, we know the included sections featured a playable guitar for favor for many, which is pretty much the guitar section. As new burgeoning rock stars impressed us with their performances, so we've introduced a new guitar free play mode, which will let you strum the strings across a host of unlockable instruments, use audio effects pedals to modulate your performance, and play as different characters in several in-game locations to customize the mood and feel of your set. And for both returning players, new and returning players, and learning more, we've designed Part 2 Remastered to offer a more comprehensive dive behind the scenes on how our studio brought this game to life. A new set of lost levels in Part 2 Remastered allows players a unique chance to check out some playable sequences previously cut from the game. These aren't fully finished levels, but rather early development slices that not only let you see a new glimpse of Part 2's world, but also include embedded developer commentary to give richer context. Explore these spaces as and hear directly from the team about the intention and aspects of each level. This is a unique inclusion from our studio, and we're excited to allow players a glimpse of the creative process. We've also included newly recorded director's commentary across the campaign's cutscenes from director Neil Druckmann, narrative lead Haley Gross, and actors Troy Baker, Ashley Johnson, and Laura Bailey. They assembled to offer insight into the story and its characters that mean so much to both of our team and our fans, and we're delighted to give fans even more understanding of the team's approach. The Last of Us Part 2 Remaster will feature enhanced graphics including native 4K output and fidelity mode 148p, upscaled to 4K in performance mode, and unlocked frame rate option for TVs that support VRR. Increased texture resolution, increased level of detail distances, improved shadow quality, animation, sampling rate, and more. It all brings the world of Part 2s to life in the richer and smoother detail from the snow-swept mountains of Jackson, Wyoming, to the rainy cityscape of Seattle, Washington, and should make a first visit or return trip to the complex journey of Ellie and Abby more engrossing. Part 2 Remastered takes advantage of the PS5's power and features in more ways as well, including improved loading times. Part 2 Remastered also incorporates DualSense wireless controller haptic feedback and adaptive triggers integration to more immerse yourself in every combat and exploration. And I'm sorry, I know that was a lot. I meant to break, because sometimes in between articles I'll break and talk about it. But I was just trying to go one take straight up. But that was a little bit of a long. So we're going to really go over what it was in the game, and I will be giving my consensus on what I think about it. So, one of the bigger things that they're really incorporating into the Last of Us Part 2, the remaster, whatever you want to call it, is no return, which I actually just, when I read it to you guys, it was the first time finding out what it really is. Which it seems fun. It seems like a fun, interesting mode. Of course, it has some enhanced graphics and also the free play guitar mode and stuff like that. And again, later on in this video, I'll be giving my, the reasoning why I don't like this remaster. I don't like this decision. But we're going to finish up this article here. There's not too much else to go far. So we're so excited to naively bring The Last of Us Part 2 to the PlayStation 5 as a definitive way to experience the sequel and everything it has to offer, while also offering fans new and returning deeper levels of appreciation for work that went into it. Pre-orders will be available beginning December 5th, both for the Standard Edition as well as The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered WLF Edition, which will be exclusively available direct from the PlayStation Select Markets. It goes on. So, with that, and I just think this is worth mentioning, with your WLF edition, Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, you get 47 total Society of Champions trading cards, steelbook case with full game featuring additional digital content for the PlayStation 5 console, set of 4 enamel pins, and a Washington Liberation Front patch. That's fun. And good news for existing owners of The Last of Us Part 2s on PlayStation 4, you will be able to upgrade to a digital version of The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered for $10. At launch, you'll also be able to import your saves from the original game for Part 2 Remastered. And we're excited to share more with you as the release is on January 19th, which was already yesterday. So, you can probably hear some sarcasm in my voice on the last part. I was going for that. It was just something funny. So yeah, I already have The Last of Us Part 2 bought on PlayStation. So I can do the upgrade. I already saw it on the PlayStation Store. I can do the upgrade for $10. As much as I'm probably going to rip this game up, I probably will buy it for $10. $10 is $10. But I'm also going to be giving, here's my reasoning. So the reason that I don't think, now don't get this confused. I love The Last of Us. I love the first Last of Us. I love the second Last of Us. Both great games. So don't get that confused with I don't like the game as a whole. I don't like the remaster, especially for part 2. So I don't think they needed to make, and I already went over this in the earlier podcast I made about The Last of Us Part 1 remaster. I don't think they needed to make that one, and I don't think they really need to make Part 2 remastered. Now, as I was reading over all that stuff with the return mode, or whatever it's called, no return mode, I think that's called, and the other stuff, yeah, there's graphical enhancements, but most of the time, like, the extra features, it just really seems to me like it's a DLC, right? Like, you're not, like, you're gonna get some extra stuff, but it's not worth, now, let's just say, if I didn't already have The Last of Us Part 2, I would have to pay $50 for that. Now, generally, I mean, $50 is like, because you're basically buying the game over again. It's not necessarily like, you know, you already have the game and you already have to pay $50. There's a $10 upgrade, similar to what GTA Expanded and Enhanced was. You had to pay $10 to get the story mode, which is, that's fine. I was just using that for reference. But my point is that I just don't think this whole thing needs to happen. And if they were going to do it, they could have just added on as DLC, because technically The Last of Us Part 2 is a PS4 game. So they just pretty much added all the graphics and just ramped it up to PS5 speed, which, you give them the adaptive triggers and everything like that, just like they did with Part 1. But again, I just don't think that's necessary. I think The Last of Us, and I played The Last of Us, the PS4 version when I first came out, I played it on PS4, and then, of course, I did it backwards compatible on PS5, and they both run fine. I think The Last of Us, even on PS4, I think Last of Us Part 2 runs fine on PS4. I think it's a fine PS4 game. The graphics are already amazing on either console. So the fact that they're making this is just kind of stupid, if you ask me. Kind of the same feels as I had for The Last of Us Part 1. It just feels like a giant DLC. They're marketing it as like a new game, in a way, like they're selling it for the price of a new game, which I don't think that that's necessary for them to make. All they really had to do is just make it a DLC that you could download and add it on to your already existing Last of Us Part 2 game, if that makes sense. I just don't think they needed to market it as a new game. It just seems like a DLC to me. Maybe, like I said, besides the graphical enhancements, amongst other things, just seems like a DLC that you can download and already have, which I don't agree with it. I don't really like it. Now, like I said, all things aside, it is only $10, and I think I am going to upgrade it, and I might make a follow-up podcast after I played it for a little bit. I'm gonna play. I think I'll play through the whole full story, and I'll check back with you guys after I tried it all out, and I might make a follow-up podcast on my final analysis of it, but we'll see about that. Didn't buy it yet, but my point is that I don't really like it. That's my final. When I first saw it, I didn't really like it. I felt the same way, and I feel the same throughout. So I don't. It's not that I don't like the game itself. Like I said, the story, everything's great. Just I don't agree with the remake. They don't really need to remake it or remaster it, whatever it may be. It's just not necessary. However, I will probably buy it for $10. It's just another upgrade. Um, yeah, so it's not too crazy. But for those of you who aren't, I imagine there. And I didn't play it yet, so I can't speak from experience. But to those of you new fans who are looking to play The Last of Us Part 2, I don't think there's going to be too much of a difference between the PS4 version or the brand new remake PS5 version. There is obviously going to be differences, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a contrast. It's more or less marketed towards the new fans, so I don't think you're really paying for anything different in that regard. So I don't really think there'll be a difference, but I can't 100% speak on that. Like I said, once I play it, I think I might come back and make a follow-up podcast. But as of now, that'll pretty much do it. It was more or less me, I read off an article, but it was more or less me going on a little bit of a rant on how I felt about this. But nonetheless, that's how I feel. So, and when I did first see The Last of Us, the Part 2 remaster, I wanted to immediately make a podcast about it. It's already kind of new, a week or two in advance that I wanted to. But yeah, that'll pretty much do it for today's episode of the Gamers Podcast. Make sure to subscribe for more content, like the video, all good stuff. Discord, Twitch, Instagram, links in the description. Comment down below what you guys think of The Last of Us Part 2 remaster. Do you like it? Do you feel the same way as I do about it? If you don't like it, comment that down below. Let's discuss it. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.